I'm a 21-year-old female. I drive from Miami to Daytona Beach almost every other week. I make sure to fuel up before I start off, but this one unfortunate day, I didn't. I left Daytona around 12 a.m. driving back to Miami. I drive a black Mustang, 40th anniversary. I was literally flooring it back home through I-95. The entire route was empty, other than a few trucks and small cars here and there. I was jamming to some good music, not paying too much attention to what was going on with my fuel tank. Around 2:30 to 2:45 a.m., the low fuel warning came up. I saw it and started looking for the nearest exit, which happened to be in Boynton Beach. I had never been there and still have no idea about how the area was. I took the exit and saw that there's a Circle K right off the exit. I was a little relieved because I at least now know that I wouldn't run out of fuel in the middle of nowhere. Now, with barely any fuel left in my car, I pull up to this gas station. It's totally empty. I can't even see a single car inside or even outside on the road. There were no people other than one tall man in a red-colored jacket walking near the side of the gas station store where all the parkings are. But he was not very close to the pump I was at. I was a little scared, but I usually try to shake my fear off by telling myself that it's nothing. This man at this point is looking at the ground, but kind of walking in the general direction of my car. I'm still inside the car, contemplating whether I should get out or stay in. Usually, I would have gone out and fueled, not being scared, but that day, something in my gut told me to lock the car and wait inside until he either goes away or walks past my car. At this point, this guy is just a few feet away from my car, still not looking at me. I'm trying to tell myself, it's okay. He doesn't even care that I'm here. I should get out. But then, my worst fear comes to life. This man looks straight at me and dashes towards the driver's side door and tries to open it. At this point, it's around 3 a.m. with no other people in the general vicinity. I literally froze for a second and thought I was going to die. He pulled onto the door handle several times trying to get it to open, but then I somehow got my senses back, turned on the car, and floored it. He didn't even let go of the door handle until I started the car and hit the gas pedal. I'm so thankful that despite the low fuel, my car still started up and drove off. I had nothing on me to defend myself. Nothing at all other than a plastic fork I got from Panda Express earlier that day. I still can't get over the whole experience. It still scares the living daylights out of me. This morning, my 2.5-year-old daughter and I are in Goodwill. The shelves are low and see-through, so she was in the toy alley, and I was at the end of the aisle next to her. But I notice a man in the same aisle as me, so I obviously go and stand with my daughter. The dude followed me into the toy alley. I looked at him, and he picked up some weird teddy bear and pretended to look at it. So I have my radar up and don't want to be a Karen, so I take my daughter's hand and we stay together at this point, going up each aisle. This guy was about 3 steps away from me, or in the aisle next to me the entire time we were in the store. Whenever I look over my shoulder or something, he would pick up more random crap. I became more uncomfortable, so I picked up my daughter and went out the parking lot. As I'm putting her in the car seat, I look up, and don't you know who followed me out there? I quickly jumped into the van and drive off. He got in his car and followed me for a good 12 miles. I finally ran a red light and pulled into a grocery store and lost him. But I was so scared. My MIL told me to call the police, but we just moved and I have no idea what the name of the streets are, or north or south. We live in PA, so there isn't front license plates. As I knew, he had a gray work truck with ladders on it, and he's a white man, scuffy beard, 5'10", and had sunglasses on. That describes about 90% of the male population near me, so I didn't call the police. We're home safe and sound, now doors locked up. My friend just bought a new house, so he decided to have a housewarming. I had a great time, and just after midnight, I decided it was time to go. I tried all the taxi services in our area, and I either got no answer or told I would have to wait at least an hour. I live in rural Wales, UK, and we don't have Uber. I'm a student and work weekends, so I have to get home as soon as I could cause I had work in the morning, so I decided I'd walk home. My phone says 41 minutes and I was in a drunken state, so I make my goodbyes and refuse any company or calling any friends and set off. I was lit, but not too drunk. Easily followed the directions on my phone. I got about 30 minutes in when I came across an alley I had to take. I sped up as I walked through as it was very dark, but got through and felt silly for being a little spooked. As I carried on walking, I reached a long pathway and noticed a figure in the distance. I couldn't tell if they were walking towards me or just standing still, but the closer I got, I could see them just standing, smoking a cigarette. I kept to the other side of the path and walked past. As I carried on walking, I felt a little uneasy looking back, and the guy is now walking behind me. I quickened up and hoped to gain distance, but this was a straight path and he kept pace. I knew I was getting close to an area I was familiar with from walking my dog, and I knew I would be in a well-lit residential area soon. But finally I reached a crossroad and prayed he would go the other way, but turned the same way as me. This continued all the way until I was just 2 streets away from the one I lived on. I decided I had to lose him, so the next corner I took and ran as fast as I could. I'm a fit guy, so I managed to get to the next street very quickly and up the last alley into the street I live on before looking back, and he was out of my sight. So I quickly ran into my house and got inside. My parents were in bed thankfully, so the lights were out and I took a breath and began to calm down as my dog ran to greet me. I gave her a pat and went into the living room, but kept the lights off as I planned to head straight to my bedroom after grabbing a drink. I walked from into the hall and into the kitchen as my dog Faith followed, but as I took a drink from the refrigerator, she turned to me and looked at the front door and slanted her head before slowly walking towards it. I swear I got the creepiest feelings, like my body froze as I saw a figure through the small frosted glass panel in the door. I slammed the doors of the fridge and hid out of view. I was terrified. Faith began barking and jumping at the door. I stayed hidden out of view as she shuffled around pawing at the door. Suddenly, my dog charged into the kitchen, still barking. She ran past me to the kitchen door and leapt up. I ran into the hall and saw my dad at the top of the stairs. He asked me what Faith was barking at, and I blurted out a guy followed me home. He charged downstairs, and Faith was going crazy at this point into the kitchen. My dad marched into the darkness as I followed, but again Faith ran past us back into the front door. My dad went into the front garden as I held Faith back as he saw the front gate rattle. We went to it and looked up and down the street, but saw nothing. He decided to stay up and I went to bed. The next morning in the back garden, we found a rusty knife. It's dirty and has black tape all around the handle. There were also 2 stab marks on the back door. My dad refuses to report it to the police, which I think is insane. Someone clearly tried to break in, but he insisted they won't come back. The whole situation was played on my mind all week. It really creeped me out, and I can safely say I'll call someone for a lift home next time.